Well, so glad you could join us this morning. It's been a blast out here at Mount Clemens at Black Cat. Still time for you to stop by, say hello, get yourself a coffee. Our next guest is actually on this press release I'm holding right now. Governor Whitmer signed a proclamation honoring Veterans Day and the more than 550,000 veterans Mark Hackle and all those served before them here in Michigan. And at the very top of that press release is our guest, Major General Paul D. Rogers, kindly joining us here on the Paul W. Smith Show here on 760 WJR. Major General, first of all, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your service.
Good morning, Sean. Thank you for having me on here, and thank you for acknowledging the veterans that live and work in the state of Michigan.
I got to tell you, obviously you mentioned in this proclamation that the governor's put out, but I've known this guy for quite some time, and it's fitting that we have him kind of finishing this segment, especially talking about our military and all the folks that are here with the support that they provide. Because I got to meet Paul, and I consider him a friend actually. When he worked out at TACOM over here at our defense center in Macomb County, learn more about that defense center and understanding about how it is so significant and the history behind it. But this guy, you talk about someone who really does care and push for not only the defense industry, but for our military. This was one of the first appointments the governor made, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, in her first term. And when she had reached out talking about him, asking if he was the right candidate, he got glowing reviews from folks. And that was probably one of her better appointments. She's made a lot of good appointments, but I got to tell you, General Rogers is, in my opinion, probably one of the best appointments the governor could have made. And we're glad, and we know you support our military here in Michigan.
Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate those words of support, and I always appreciate your advocacy for everything military, and in particular the veterans. We're blessed. We have between 550 and 600,000 veterans that call Michigan home. But just in the tri-counties, Macomb, Oakland, Wayne, we have more than 200,000 veterans, and they are such an important part of our communities. It's great to have local leaders that acknowledge them, support them, and go out of their way to make sure those veterans get the resources that they need to be successful. And I appreciate your leadership there.
Yeah, right now you're actually in command of about, 10,000, 11,000 folks that are part of the Michigan National Guard right now?
That's correct. We have 10,500 women and men who wear our nation's uniform, both in the Air and Army National Guard here in Michigan. And then we have another 1,000 civilians that support them day in and day out and ensure that they're successful. So in total, 11,500 in the department, but 10,500 of those wear the Air Force or Army uniform.
And it's I get the honor of going to a ceremony that they're going to be having over at that Veterans Housing out here in Chesterfield later on today, actually at 11 o'clock. So right after this program, I'm heading out there. But you were instrumental in really helping, make that happen, providing more veterans housing for our veterans. And one of those happened to be located, and they selected Macomb County as a location for that. And credit to you for looking out to our veterans.
Oh, I appreciate that. And, yeah, our veteran homes are just amazing. We have a brand new one there in Macomb County. We have a new one that's replacing the existing one out in Grand Rapids, and we just got approval through the legislature to fund a third one being built up to replace the Marquette Jacobetti Center. And the governor has been a strong advocate to all of this. She's been putting this in her budget as a priority. And then we're looking at a fourth one possibly in the Detroit area, in the city of Detroit, again, to service those veterans that live there, call that home, and we want them to have a skilled nursing facility available for them in their later years of life and when they need additional care. They are beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities, and we're so blessed to have the support of the citizens in Michigan for funding these resources.
One of the things you and I always talk about, and so many of the folks here are always concerned about, is Selfridge Air Base. I mean, it's obviously one of those institutions in and around Macomb County, but again, it's our hometown air base. And there's always this concern about the BRAC and base realignment and closures. But you've been out there trying to position Selfridge as a valued air base for not only Michigan or Macomb County, but for our national defense. So where are we at with that? What's the what do you see happening there right now?
Yeah, Mark, you've highlighted it. We have to be on call every day, every year, protecting that resource, protecting that asset. It is always at risk at some point of being downsized or eliminated. It is a gem. It is one of a kind in the Air National Guard inventory across the nation. Selfridge Air National Guard Base has been there since the beginning of aviation in the military, and it plays such a pivotal role in our national defense. But every other state is advocating for investment in their state, and we need to be at the forefront of promoting and protecting that air base and bringing new missions to it as the existing missions begin to age out. So we need to continue to fight each and every day, call on our delegation to continue to advocate, and just keep the pressure on the Air Force.
Major General, we're right there with you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you continue to do. And thanks so much for joining us here on 760 WJR.